Hey everyone, this is Fabriello and welcome back. Today I decided to do a sort of video response to AlphaOmegaSin, being a big fan of him, and it's about one of his last videos when it was talking about the release of the Persona 3 and Bayonetta animes. I thought those could be interesting, especially I'm more into the Shin Megami Tensei games and Persona, obviously, but also, Bayonetta could be interesting. I mean, even though I never play those games, I know perfectly what they are, what kind of games they are, and an anime adaptation of both of them could be very good. I think very interesting, especially like darker games like that, Persona and Bayonetta, everything very interesting. But that made me think about this topic since it was talking about other games and other animes, and I was thinking, well, video games and anime are two of the best things ever, and combining them is just even better. I mean, there are so many games that could be great animes, and there are so many already anime adaptations of video games. Just looking at my anime collection over there, I can see, for example, Halo Legends, the Resident Evil. It's a CGI movie. I don't know if it counts like anime, but in a way, maybe. The first one is pretty good. The second, not so much. Final Fantasy VII and the Children, of course, quite interesting. What else? The Ys Legacy, and I recently bought also the Darkstalkers anime since I'm a big fan of the Darkstalkers series. But I can think about much more of them. I mean, there are so many actually. There's the Devil May Cry anime, the um, that I don't remember. It's Dead Space, Deep Space, something like that. I'm not sure about the title. Don't remember. I saw it quite frequently, but um, now I'm watching the Wild Arts anime, for example. Yes, there is anime based on Wild Arts, and so on. There could be many, many more. There's the Devil Survivor games, Devil Survivor 2, since I mentioned it during my Devil Survivor first impressions video. And just the other day, while I was thinking about doing this video about this topic of video games that should have an anime adaptation, um, I was looking at my DS collection since these are the only games that I have with me here in London, and looking at them, I was thinking, well, man, there are so many games that just the DS games could be great animes. Well, if done in the right way, almost every video game could be a great anime. I think at least those heavily influenced by Japanese culture and with Japanese RPG, for example, or other others like that. But I just picked some of my DS games to give an examples of some examples of what I'm talking about. And also, as mentioned by AlphaOmegaSin, I would like to highlight the fact that he said that Parasite Eve could be a good anime, and I really think it's right. I mean, that could be an amazing anime. I mean, for almost all of them, these things I'm going to say, it's never going to happen. I know that, but as I love to say, I'm allowed to dream. I mean, and Parasite Eve to me would be a perfect anime. Especially, you can do two different things with that. For example, you can actually make an anime version of the first two games. And, um, since the first game is a sequel of the book, I know that there is the um, live action movie Parasite Eve. I have it, but that's more about the book and not so much about the games. The games are more a sequel of the book. So think an anime adaptation of the two games would be great. It's just two seasons. First one focus on the facts of Parasite 1, the second on Parasite 2, of course, and everything. That would be perfect, I think. Or you can do something different and make like an OVA series or a movie based on the Parasite Eve universe to conclude the stories with connected with the first two games. I'm excluding obviously Third Birthday. I apologize to the fan of the game, but I heard so many bad things about that game, and even though I know I didn't play it, but I don't really want to play it because for for what I saw, it's not a Parasite Eve game. It's just an action game with the Parasite Eve, some Parasite Eve ideas. I mean, there's just Aya Brea and something like that, but there's not even the title, simply because Square um, lost the copyright for using the Parasite Eve title. So there could be another way to conclude the story of the first two games with an actual movie. That could be interesting as well. So with a different kind of animation, that would be a great idea to me to conclude an amazing series as Parasite Eve, since because of Third Bird, we'll never have the next generation Parasite Eve game, and that makes me very sad since I love the series so much. And moving on to my DS collection, I was looking at some games that could be great animes, and just the first one that I picked, I think would be perfect. This is the first example, Chrono Trigger. I mean, this would be perfect to me. It would be a great anime. We already have the art by Akira Toriyama, and we'll have a great story with great characters. You can do so much with the Chrono games, and this would be a great way to revive the Chrono series, to give it more attention to this almost forgotten series. And I'm ashamed to say something like that. I mean, this is Chrono Trigger. This is one of the best game of all time. And I never played Chrono Cross since it was never released in Europe, but I suppose it's a good game. I will surprise if it's not, even though it's debatable if it's the sequel of Chrono Trigger, but that's another story. It's nothing to do with the quality of the game. That, for what I saw, it's obviously good. But the problem is the not release of Chrono Break, the supposed third game. And for example, you can make an anime out of that or a movie, I don't know, but just Chrono Trigger would be a great anime. I mean, if you think about the story, it's amazing. That's time travel, which is always a very cool thing. I love time travel in any form, like in games, in books, in movies. I love time travel. And you can give great personalities to this character, especially Kronos, since it's the most uninspiring character in this game. It's the risk of non-speaking characters in video games, and it's easier to connect with you, with the gamer, with the player, and the main character. But at the same time, compare with the other characters is less inspiring than others that have their own personalities. So this is what I think, and it's pretty common in RPG, especially like in Breath of Fire, which could be another great anime, for example. But let's talk about Breath of Fire later. Let's finish about Chrono Trigger. And yes, could be a great idea. I mean, you can go, you know, the game. You can go from the present to the prehistoric ages, to ancient times, Middle Ages, to the future. I mean, just exploit the possibilities offered by Chrono Trigger. The result will be an amazing anime, and it could be a win-win situation for the fans of this amazing game, since you can have some more Chrono Trigger stuff, but at the same time it could revive the series, and it really needs to be revived. I mean, as I said before, it's Chrono Trigger. We need more of the Chrono games. Such a shame it's quite been abandoned by Square. I mean, it looks like that. Another very interesting game to me that could be a very interesting anime. It's definitely The World Ends With You, for DS obviously, as you can see. And I'm very surprised that this game was actually abandoned, I suppose, by Square Enix just after this one. I'm very surprised that there are no remakes and no sequels, because I suppose it was quite a good success on the DS, because to me this is one of the most interesting and original games on the DS. It is very funny, it has a very interesting, creepy story in a way. I mean, it's not as creepy as Atlus games or Shin Megami Tensei games, but still, it's all about death, and there is 1 week before you disappear from the world and others related to you. So it is quite dark and creepy for being a Nintendo game, especially a game released on a Nintendo system. And I think it really deserves a sequel or a remake on the 3DS, for example, or something bigger on the Wii U. why not? That would be amazing. And an anime from this would be brilliant, especially because this game has one of the most interesting character development that I saw recently, especially with the main character. Because at the beginning is just really an asshole, but then progressively, already at the end of the first day, if I remember, I haven't played this in a while, but I remember that just already at the end of the first day, it is really changing in a good way. It's becoming really more interesting, and also the interaction with the other characters. It's very well done in this game. I mean, for a gamer like me who loves character development, character interaction, this is a great game, other than having a brilliant story. And it should really deserve something more, and an anime could be a good idea, since it's already heavily influenced by Japanese culture and lifestyle. Um, it takes place in Tokyo, in Shibuya, I think, and it's all about Japanese teenagers and stuff like that, and fashion. It could be very interesting, and it would be great to listen to its amazing soundtrack in an anime. It could be awesome, I think, since it's one of the best soundtrack on the DS. I think it's very good, great game, and that desperately deserves something more. Remakes, sequels, and an anime version would be amazing. Next, it's one of my favorite franchises of all time, and I think that I just picked one game of this very big franchise. I'm talking about the Castlevania games, and in this case, Order of Ecclesia, the last game release of the Castlevania series on the DS. Um, all three DS Castlevania games are very good, and it's debatable to say which one is the best. Could be this one, could be Dawn of Sorrow, could be Portrait of Ruin. This one, I choose this particular one for a simple reason. It's the most dark, it's the darker and mature one of the three games. They're all really good, including this. My personal favorite is Portrait of Ruin for other reasons, but I love this. I finished this, and it's incredibly difficult with amazing soundtrack, like all the Castlevania games. Very good main characters. I love Shanoa. It's an amazing Castlevania game, and I think this could be the perfect Castlevania anime. But all the Castlevania games could be great animes, but this one in particular, especially because it's quite a departure compared to the other Castlevania games on the DS that are a little not really childish, but they're more anime styles, so they're less darker. That after all, Castlevania is an horror series, supposed to be. It started as an horror series since you have to fight Dracula. There are all the horror cliches like mummies, Frankenstein's monster, bats, werewolves, hunchbacks, whatever you want. And I think this is going back to that concept. It's much more darker than the previous two games. And just think how cool an anime of Order of Ecclesia could be if it's done in a sort of Hellsing Ultimate kind of style. With that kind of animation, that kind of design, that kind of maturity would be phenomenal to me. Really bloody, gory. It's Castlevania, it's an horror game, so you should be able to see a lot of blood and everything. A mature game for a mature anime for a mature series. That would be brilliant to me. But obviously, the usual siren, go away. And all the Castlevania games could be anime, as I said. Just think about Symphony of the Night, for example, Rondo of Blood, Super Castlevania 4, Castlevania 3, still going back to the past. Since there's all the parts like before going to the castle, since some of the Metroidvania games are all inside the castle, that could be quite repetitive as a setting, but including this, some of the Castlevania games do not take part inside the castle, but also outside, like forests, villages, swamps, graveyards. I mean, you can go wide with your imagination. I mean, you don't have to follow 100% the game, but just use some oral cliches and whatever you want. Could be brilliant. A Castlevania series of anime, except for Judgment. That doesn't count for me as a Castlevania game. Finally, the last examples that I have here, but this could go on forever, I think, because topic and as a video are, of course, the Dragon Quest games. Now, um, there is actually a Dragon Quest-based anime that was released, I think, in the late 80s, early mid-90s, The Great Adventure of Dai. How was the title in English, actually? Because I read the manga in Italian, so I'm not completely sure about the title in English, but that's the one. I mean, it's an entire story based in the Dragon Quest world. For example, the main character best friend is a slime, and there are familiar monsters, quite similar, like similar location and settings, and it's brilliant. It's a great anime. The anime I'm not well, it's very old, so I never actually follow it very well. The manga is brilliant. Trust me, that's really if you like Dragon Quest, read that manga. But talking about Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6, um, these are masterpieces. These are amazing games, some of the best RPG ever made. And to me, these could be amazing animes. And you can do, again, two different things with these. For example, let's take one game at a time. Let's start with Dragon Quest 4. One of the best Dragon Quests ever made, one of my personal favorites. It's very hard to me to pick the favorite between all these great games, but 4 it is definitely one of the best. And again, the potential is here. We have the art by Akira Toriyama again, so that's an amazing thing from the start. I mean, just like for Chrono Trigger, with Akira Toriyama design, just instead of making another Dragon Ball movie, we have already like 20 of them, just make something new. Just focus on Dragon Quest, focus on Chrono Trigger. That would be a sale for anything, for DVDs, Blu-ray, whatever you want. I mean, that would be brilliant. And 4, for example, with its amazing story and great characters, like we have the 5 chapters, and then merge into one. That's perfect. I mean, you can have a long or normal kind of like 12 to 24 episodes with these stories, and then gradually merging into the main story of the hero, and until you gather all the chosens and fight the final boss. I mean, this could be already a great anime by itself. The same with 5 and 6. They all have great stories, especially 5. To me, it's probably my personal favorite Dragon Quest game ever, especially because of its amazing story. There's this myth that Dragon Quest doesn't have great stories as a series, and that's not entirely true. Maybe Dragon Quest 1, the first one, was quite weak, but that's back in the early 80s, in the mid 80s, so it was difficult to find great stories in a game back then. Already with Dragon Quest 2, the game was much bigger, and it's already connected in a way with the other games. And 3, it's an amazing game, one of the best RPG of the 8-bit era. And already starting from 4, stories of this game becoming bigger and better. And with 5, to me, it reached its peak. The story of Dragon Quest 5, it's amazing. With all, you can follow the entire life of the hero from childhood to adulthood until he gets married, have children. And you can do this brilliantly in an anime, to me. And the same with 6, another amazing game. I quite underestimate this at first, but then when I managed to move from a certain point where I was stuck, I managed to appreciate this game entirely, which is amazing. I love this now. And again, this could be a great anime with its dream world and real world separation, with different situations for some characters, especially the main characters. With I don't want to spoil the story, but if you play the game, you know what I'm talking about. And again, this could be a very interesting anime. But what I was thinking about these amazing games was actually as a whole. As you know, these 3 games, 4, 5, and 6, are known as the Zintian trilogy, because there are certain elements in each of these games. Of course, the Zintian castle in the sky, the special armor and equipment of the hero. In a way, if you're very good at doing this, you can actually make an entire anime series based on those 3 games together as a trilogy, also as they're supposed to be, also in an animated version, with certain elements that repeat in each anime, and try to connect the story a little between these 3. As I said before, you don't have to follow precisely the games. You can take some freedom, like try to connect the heroes in a certain way, And the world always looks the same in Dragon Quest. You can make some differences. You can repeat some like countries or situations and make some cameos from other characters or descendants. I mean, this could be amazing. Like a 3-season Dragon Quest anime would be brilliant. I will definitely buy a DVD like that. Like starting with 4 and ending with 6, with all this connection between the Zintian um, people and the chosen one, the hero, can use the Zintian equipment in order to defeat the Great Demon in each generation. And you can connect as 3 different generations. Um, a sort of Fantasy Star 3 kind of thing. And I think that could be very brilliant, very good, and very interesting. It's like the best way to use some of the greatest Dragon Quest games. I mean, how about Dragon Quest 8, 7? I mean, all the Dragon Quests can be great games. 9, for example, 3, 1, 2. I mean, all the Dragon Quest games would be perfect anime to me. But I was especially want to talk about these since I love them so much. And I think since they're connected these well, actually, you can do it a little better and do an amazing trilogy. And to conclude this, since this video is going a little longer than I expected, I just want to mention Breath of Fire, of course. I mean, I have to mention it in any single video that I do, since I'm a huge fan, and I'm so sad where that series is going. Even though, finger crossed, I hope that um, the 6th game, I haven't got any news lately about that, will be not as bad as it looks. Breath of Fire will be another amazing anime. Really amazing. I mean, just the idea that Ryo can transform into a dragon. That would be so cool in an anime. I mean, instead of the transformation of little girls into fairies, how about a guy turned into a dragon? That's awesome. But seriously, all the games, especially like 2, 3, 4, would be brilliant anime. Well, you have to add 1. It's good because it's connected with 2 and 3 in a way. But for example, 2, that it's one of my favorite Breath of Fire game, would be amazing because of its great story and the depth of the characters and their situations, um, the amazing development of some of them. For example, Kat and Nina are very well done for games of the 90s, I think. Or Breath of Fire 3, which is my personal favorite, as you know. It'll be again amazing since you start with Rio as a kid, then growing up, discover all this thing about the brood and the goddess and everything. That would be so amazing, a Breath of Fire game anime. And again, like Chrono Trigger, it could be a good way to revive the series, to restore order in the Breath of Fire universe, since from the 5th game, Dragon Quarter, it's going drastically downhill as a series. So, and it's quite a pity because the first 4 games are some of the best RPGs that you can get to me. So I think I should stop here because I can still talk for like half an hour about games that could be animes. That because many of them should have an anime uh, release, an anime adaptation as well. Some of them deserve an anime adaptation because could be, as I told you, since now a good way also to improve the popularity. Oh, there we go. What about Ease? I mean, as I was talking about in my Ease Legacy review, that now would be a perfect moment to have another or some new Ease animes. I mean, now the series is becoming popular. It's not an obscure TurboGrafx game anymore. Now you can find games on Steam, on the PSP, PS2. I mean, Ease is everywhere now. And this would be a great moment to release new animes, especially because it could be a great way to increase an already growing popularity of a series that now it's popular, and especially this could be a good way to inspire Falcom and Xseed to release more games and release them in the West. This could be another win-win situation like for other games, as I told you, but that would be perfect. I mean, how about the anime of Ultim Falgana? What else I can say? That would be perfect. Would be gold for both Falcom and Xseed. Ark of Napishtim, Is 7, Dawn of East, all the games would be perfect as anime, but Ultim Falcana would be very good. Just remake an anime with modern animation of book 1 and 2 again, since its legacy is already a good one to be in 90s anime. The newer one will be phenomenal. So again, I just want to conclude this video because I can talk so much more. So thanks for watching, like always, guys. Hope you enjoyed this video. Absolutely, leave comments below, video responses, because this could be very interesting as a topic. Just give more suggestion of games that to you should deserve and should have anime adaptations. Because definitely, or say which series have already an anime adaptation, because I definitely forgot about them, because there are so many actually, more than you can think. And as I said, I think this could be a great way to increase the popularity of some games, revive some dying series, or just to have some more to explore the universe of some of these games. That would be a great idea. So with this say, guys, thanks for watching. Again, leave comments, video responses. Hope you enjoyed it. Take care.